Hi, Mr. Grove again, and I do want to reference again one more time. Today we're going to look at extreme external bleeding. So there's a little difference in what we do and how we handle it. But on basic external bleeding, where the person most likely doesn't need 911 and will not be in a state of shock, what you want to do, always cover the wound with a sterile gauze, okay, sterile gauze pad. Apply direct pressure. Now, if you don't have gloves, okay, um, in reference to the blood entering the skin, your own, it is extremely rare. I will say this again, to have a transmission of blood to get into your system, into your bloodstream, or into a cut or wound. It can happen, but it is extremely rare. But that being said, if you don't have gloves, use some extra gauze on top so it doesn't saturate through the pad. So again, if the bleeding does soak through the first gauze pad, please add one on top. Don't remove it. Add another gauze pad on top and keep applying direct pressure. Then you would want to apply a roller bandage, and all that is a bandage that's in a roll, and you'll roll it around the wound, the bandage around the wound several times to keep the gauze or gauze pads in place. Then you would tie or tape the bandage so it doesn't come loose. Once you do that, though, you want to check for circulation. You want to make sure that if it was in the arm, that you can see in the fingers feeling of warmth, and you look for color. If it is turning cyanotic or cyanosis, bluish in color, you have the bandage too tight. Look in the fingernail beds if it be on the arm, on the leg, in the toenail beds. But again, you want to check for warmth so you know you're getting some circulation through there. So let's start today with severe external bleeding. I'm going to minimize myself, and we're going to go right here to severe external bleeding.
When a person has a severe open wound and direct pressure fails to stop the bleeding, or you're unable to apply direct pressure to the wound, a tourniquet might be the best option. A tourniquet is a tight band placed around an arm or leg to stop blood flow to a wound. There are several types of manufactured tourniquets available, and these are preferable to a makeshift or improvised one. To use a manufactured tourniquet, place it around the limb approximately 2 inches above the wound, but not over a joint. Secure the tourniquet in place by pulling the strap through the buckle. Then, tighten the tourniquet by twisting the rod, otherwise known as the windlass, until the flow of bleeding stops. Tourniquets can be painful when applied correctly. Remember to note the time you applied the tourniquet. EMS will want to know. It's also important not to remove the tourniquet once it's in place. Training is needed to properly use a tourniquet. Always remember to follow directions specific to the tourniquet being used. For parts of the body where a tourniquet cannot be applied, such as the neck or torso, a hemostatic dressing may be used instead. A hemostatic dressing is a dressing treated with a substance that speeds clot formation. Like tourniquets, hemostatic dressings should only be used to control life-threatening bleeding when standard first aid procedures either fail or are not practical. These dressings can also be used when applying direct pressure for some reason isn't a practical option, or a tourniquet doesn't work. When a person is bleeding severely, it's possible that their body will go into shock. Shock is a condition in which the circulatory system fails to deliver enough oxygen-rich blood to the body's tissues and vital organs. Signs and symptoms of shock include restlessness, irritability or altered level of responsiveness, nausea or vomiting, and pale, ashen, or grayish, cool, moist skin. Sometimes a person might say, "I feel weak and dizzy." That may mean their body is in shock. To care for shock, call 911. Lay the injured person flat on the floor and cover them with a blanket. Offer the person reassurance and continue to monitor them as you control the bleeding.
Okay, one thing about the tourniquet, when you do apply it, if you would have a magic marker or something that you can write close to the on their clothing or on the bandage, as long as you don't penetrate or push on the bandage too hard, the timeline of what and when you applied that tourniquet. Remember the thing about shock, the biggest thing is, have the person lay down, reassure them, cover them in a blanket to keep them warm. So in that order, it is, person flat on the floor, cover with a blanket, and reassure them, talk to them. So let's go through the activity. Start the mission.
Use the check, call, care process to respond to this emergency.
Okay, I know this is
It
old
looks like
hat.
there's no first aid kit nearby.
We always
You
look
should
at the
send
scene.
the bystander to grab the kit. In the meantime, you can use a clean towel to apply pressure to the wound.
Okay, let's look. We check over here.
No hazards on this side.
Okay, let's go see over here. Doesn't look like
Everything
any.
looks okay over here. Good. You've checked the scene, and there don't appear to be any hazards. The scene is safe.
Okay, we're going to have him. John, we're going to tell John to go call 911 and also grab a first aid kit and an AED if possible.
Okay, I'm on it.
Okay, so when we go here, we want to obtain consent.
Yeah, help me, would you? Nice work. You've obtained consent.
Okay, so we have Zach to apply direct pressure to the wound with a towel.
Nice job. Now you can interview Zach to learn more about his signs and symptoms while keeping pressure on the wound.
So he's keeping pressure on to slow the bleeding down. So let's find out what happened. What symptoms?
My arm hurts and is bleeding pretty badly.
Okay, we go through sample as you know.
I have a dog allergy. No medication.
Medical conditions.
No.
Last food or drink in the L.
I had some granola and a water bottle about an hour ago.
And the events leading up to.
I cut my arm on that jagged edge there. See?
Nice job. You've gained enough information. The wound is still bleeding through the towel. You need to keep applying pressure to the wound.
Hey, I called 911 and got the first aid kit. EMS is on the way.
Okay, so we look here. We don't want to remove the towel, or excuse me, applying direct pressure. So we're going to wrap the wound in a bandage.
That's not the best idea.
Okay, let's not do that.
The wound is bleeding through the dressing.
So we're going to apply a second dressing and more pressure.
You've controlled the bleeding.
Okay, so now we want to wrap it.
Before securing the bandage, check below the injured area for feeling, warmth, and color. Okay, everything looks good. So now, go ahead and wrap the wound.
Okay, we're going to take the roller wrap.
Drag the tie to the correct spot on the arm. Good work. Now that the bandage is tied, check below the injured area for feeling, warmth, and color again.
Okay, down in
Everything
there.
looks good here. Nice job. Good work. You've wrapped the wound. It looks like Zach is going into shock. To care for shock, lay Zach down flat, cover him in a blanket, and offer reassurance while continuing to monitor and treat the cause of shock.
Treat for shock.
Shock is a condition in which the circulatory system fails to deliver enough oxygen-rich blood to the body's tissues and vital organs. Place the steps for shock care in the correct order.
Okay, so the three ways and what we talk about, the three things to do. Okay, so the first thing you want to get him flat, lay him down, cover him with the blanket, offer reassurance. They're in the exact order.
That's right. Helping the person rest in a more comfortable position may alleviate lightheadedness, dizziness, and weakness by increasing blood flow to vital organs. Cover the person with a blanket if available, and reassure the person while continuing to monitor breathing and any changes in the condition. Great job. You controlled the bleeding and cared for shock. EMS arrived to take over. Good work.
Okay, we're going to return home. And now we're going to go to the next one, which is severe external advanced skill practice. Okay, let's start the mission.
Use the skills you've learned to respond to this emergency.
Check the scene, check call care, check the scene. Nothing over there. Oh, I'm looking over
You
here.
identified the knife as a potential hazard at the scene.
Okay, so we took care of that. Tell Paul to call 911.
Yeah, I'll go call right now.
We're going to obtain consent.
What should you say to obtain consent?
Explain who you are, your level. You say, hey, I'm a student at Thaddeus Stevens. I'm in basic first aid. Okay, can I help you?
Yes, please help me. I don't know how I did this.
Okay, so when we go up here, now let's see if it says the interview or go down to the cut. So we're going to see about this. So the interview part is,
I cut myself on the knife. Can you help me?
okay. So we already did that. Let's go down right here. Okay, we're going to apply dressing and pressure. Okay, so as we look in, we never want to remove the dressing and wrap the wound in a bandage at this time yet. Interview.
The knife slipped and I cut my arm. I feel okay. A little lightheaded.
Any allergies?
No allergies that I know of.
Any medications?
I've been taking a sinus pill, but that's it.
Any medical conditions?
No.
Last food or drink?
I had some eggs this morning for breakfast, but nothing since then.
And last, let's see, what led to this injury?
The knife slipped and I cut my arm. I feel okay. A little lightheaded.
You've completed the interview.
Oh no, it's bleeding through the dressing.
Okay. So when it's bleeding, let me get myself out of here. Let's go up this way. Add more dressing over the existing dressing and apply pressure.
You've controlled the bleeding.
Now we're going to go to the wrap. So we're going to take the roller bandage. Okay. Secure the roller bandage.
You've wrapped the wound. Before and after wrapping a wound, what should you do?
Okay, so we want to check for before and after. Check below the wound for the feeling of color and warmth.
I feel weak and dizzy.
Okay, so now we have to treat for shock. Let's see what this block over here. Okay, we want to move myself down here. Lay her down flat. We want to cover her with the blanket. Submit.
Paramedics have arrived at the scene and will continue providing care for Gloria.
Okay, so let me maximize myself. Okay, so we looked at a couple things to emphasize. When you put direct pressure on with that gauze pad, at no time do you want to remove the gauze pad. It will start to clot, and if you do remove it, the clot breaks. So you want to continue with the gauze pad. If it's saturated coming through the gauze pad, please add another gauze pad. Until the bleeding and the direct pressure is slowing it down and stopping it, then you would put the bandage around or tape to secure it. Also at that time, before, you want to look at the fingers if it's in the arm. I mentioned this about the warmth. Make sure there's circulation. It's not turning bluish in color. If it would be on the extremity on the legs, you could do the same thing with the lower leg or the foot. So it's pretty simple. Remember the key ones to regular bleeding that's not severe with the direct pressure, gauze pad, direct pressure, and bandage. And of course, with this scenario, you always would have to treat for shock. Any questions? Again, please, at any point in time when you want to retake a quiz or you missed a lesson, please contact me, grovek@stevenscollege.edu. I wish you the best. October 26th. Today, tomorrow, the 27th is when you'll see this video, and make sure you complete the previous lesson. Take care and minimize, and that's it.